Okay, so welcome everybody to the transfer orientation session. We're really happy to have you here today and to have a chance to kind of go over some stuff about the university and some stuff that's specific to transfer students. And then what we were thinking is, I know that some of you are going to have some really general questions. And so when we get to Q&A at the end, or as we're going through with the general questions, go ahead and either raise your hand to ask them or put them in the chat. And Janae's helping out and Jasmine's helping out so that we have a couple people other than me to help answer transfer questions, in addition to our fabulous OAs. So we've got a number of people here who can help. But then what I was thinking is, I know some of you may have very specific questions related to your own transfer credits or your own situation. So when we get toward the end, what I'll do is, after we kind of finish the general Q&A, anybody who wants to pose an individual question, I'll move you all into the waiting room, and then I'll pull you all out one at a time so that we can answer individual questions about your own transfer credit. We were trying to figure out how we normally would do this on campus and kind of talk to people after individually about their situations. This kind of seems like the best Zoom alternative to be able to do that. So I have a PowerPoint, which I'm going to share in a second. What I've learned is my desktop is always a little bit busy and a little bit not always the most attractive to share. So if I take a second and figure out what I'm doing, it works a little bit better. So let's go into, let's go into slideshow. And instead I am in, okay, I'm not gonna worry about that. We'll just kind of go like this because that seems easier at this point. Okay, so welcome to the academic area of Catholic University as a transfer student. We are so happy that you decided to join us and that you're going to be here and taking classes with us this fall. We're very thrilled that you were able to make the decision to come, and we are very excited to see you here. And I am still trying to get this to play. Okay, so the transfer credit process. I know for some of you,
do you want it to present? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I never do Google Slides.
It's the top right corner. It says present right next to the share button. Top right corner, present. Like all the way in the top right. Yeah, present right there.
And so mine doesn't have present right there. Are you seeing my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you see the yellow button in the top right corner that says share?
Oh, you know why? You know why I did not see it? Zoom was over it.
Yeah, there you go.
But little Zoom and your pictures were over it. So thank you. That's the other thing with having two screens in the office. I should be better about moving everybody around than I have been. Okay, so our transfer credit process works probably a little different than some other institutions. So I think it's kind of worth taking a second and talking through kind of what we end up doing. So as a transfer student, there's a couple different steps to the process. So you've probably been corresponding with either myself or Janae related to your classes and the credit that you're going to be receiving. What we end up doing is we end up looking at your transcript and looking at the classes that you took, and then we ask you for the syllabi, or we ask you for information on the class so that we can go through a process of evaluating the class for its equivalency. Our office doesn't do the actual assigning of credit. What we do is we reach out to faculty in the different departments and let them make a determination about what the class should count for here. They generally come back with a couple of different answers. One answer is that the class is equivalent and what that's going to then transfer in as. So say you took a psychology class, like a general psych 101, somebody from psychology would look at the syllabus or the description of that class and say, yes, that class looks equivalent to our psychology 201, you should post credit for it as that. Other times they'll look at the class and they'll say, that's a really interesting class, and we think it's worthy of credit, and we think it's worthy of credit within our area, but we don't actually offer that class. In those cases, then we end up with the decision to post it as credit in that area, but not necessarily as a specific class that we have here. The third thing that happens is sometimes somebody will look at something and say, this looks really, really interesting, but we don't have that department here. We don't have that area here. It doesn't really fit anything that we're doing, but it's worth credit. And then we end up saying it's a free elective. The fourth possibility is that we would say we would not count it as credit. That happens sometimes. There's some areas where we don't end up accepting transfer credit or some kinds of classes. So sometimes there's some that don't get credit, but for the most part, everything either has an equivalent, has kind of a generic number, or is a free elective. If there's classes we're still waiting on evaluating and you're wondering where we're at with those, and we've asked you for the syllabi and you're not sure what to do to get that, that's where I think a little bit of creativity and a little bit of investigative work using Google is really helpful. So you can reach out to the school that you were at. Most universities maintain some kind of database or archive of syllabi, and somebody within the university can pull those for you, somebody within the different departments. Sometimes if you contact former professors, they're willing to give you the syllabi. Often I've gotten lucky if I just Google the school name and the course name and number, and something ends up coming up because somebody's posted a syllabus for that class at some point somewhere online. It doesn't necessarily have to be the syllabus from the semester where you took it. So just so you kind of keep that in mind, like we need to evaluate the class and we need to look at what the class contains and what the readings are and what the assignments are. But if you find a syllabus for the class within the last couple of years, even if it doesn't line up with the year and semester you took it, we're able to count that. So we get the syllabi, we send it to the faculty members, they come back and let us know where it would count or what it would count as, and then we post the credit. So that's sort of the first part of the transfer process. The next thing to keep in mind as you look at what we've posted or what we are able to post or not post is that the credits transfer, the grade itself does not. So if you got an A or a B or like a C on the class, we end up entering that into our student record system. So we record what grades you received, but then when it posts, you just get the credit for the class. So it doesn't actually impact your GPA here, but you do get the credit. D's, F's, and W's don't transfer ever. P's normally don't transfer. So normally if you've got a class where you received a grade of D or F, or it's something you withdrew from, those are not ones we can give credit for. And our policy does explicitly state that we don't give credit for classes taken pass-fail. I put on the slide an exception because we did make the determination that for the spring semester and the summer semester, we would post credit for students who had taken a class pass-fail. Recognizing that a lot of schools made the determination to go pass-fail given the COVID situation, and also recognizing that that may or may not have been your choice. The way we implemented it here at Catholic, we gave students a chance to request to go pass-fail, and then instructors to approve and go along with that in effect, and then each assistant or associate dean to sign off on it. But we know from watching what other schools, some just made their whole semester pass-fail and students didn't have an option of getting a letter grade beyond pass or fail, and we don't want to penalize you for that. The maximum number of credits you can transfer is 60. And if you've got some questions or confusion about what meet requirements for your degree or what meet requirements for your major, those would be good questions to ask your advisor. So from the transfer credit perspective, we just get the classes, figure out their equivalencies, and post the credit. We don't necessarily make the determination about whether or not the class counts for the major or whether it counts for meeting another degree requirement. So just a couple quick points related to advising in the curriculum, just so as you're thinking it through. If you're bringing in anywhere from 0 to 59 credits, you would be kind of grouped with our first year students and our sophomore students. We would not consider you to be a sophomore unless you had over 30 credits. And I know that this year, particularly, the 30 credit number became more important than it is most years, because that made a difference related to being on campus or not on campus. We have two different curriculums, kind of. One is phasing out, one is phasing in. So anybody in the 0 to 59 credit range would be working with our new curriculum completely. And you would be assigned an advisor in our Center for Academic and Career Success, but also have a faculty advisor. So you've got a couple of different people who can help you with figuring out what classes to take and where things are counting. If you are coming in with 60 credits, which is the maximum number you can bring in, you'd also now be working with the new curriculum and our new form of tracking sheet. You'll be advised by a faculty member in your school and department. You also will be assigned somebody in the Center for Academic and Career Success. The way it kind of works is if you're coming in with more first year status or sophomore status, you're going to get more advising probably from the Center for Academic and Career Success initially. If you're coming in with more than 60 credits, you're going to get more advising from your faculty advisor initially. How to see if your credits have posted. This is a question that gets asked a lot. So we have a couple of screenshots here that you can look at to kind of figure out where to look if you haven't figured this out yet. Erica, our former transfer coordinator, had also been a student here, so she very graciously had done screenshots of her student record. So when you start kind of over here from your student center, there's this little drop down box where you can pull where it says other academic, and you would click on that little triangle down, and you would click till you got to transfer credit report. And then once you were at the transfer credit report, it would then pull up for you the transfer credits. So it would say what term it was transferred from, the information on the incoming course, so the name of the course that you took, how many credits it was, what grade was inputted, whether it was posted or not, what it was posted as equivalency, how many credits, and what grade was posted. So I think this becomes a good example of the name of the incoming course, the credits, and the grade, and how we input that. And then that's on the left. On the right is what you end up seeing as you go through on your degree tracking and other kinds of things here at Catholic, is what it's listed to as the class and how many credits, and that the grade is the T. This is a good example too, because all of these history classes, 150 MTR, 151 MTR, 152 MTR, and 153 DTR, those are codes for classes that we think are really worthy of credit within that area, but that don't meet an exact equivalent that we have here. So for the most part, we use the 150 MTR DTRs. 150 MTR means it can count as meeting a major requirement. If it's a DTR, it means it just counts as a distribution requirement. But we do, for almost every department, have more than one number like this. So if somebody has more than one class that fits this sort of general category, it would be 150, 151, 152. And then either whether it meets the major requirement or the distribution requirement. I've got a couple slides next on some services that we have, but before I get into that, does anybody have any questions that you want to ask first about seeing where your credits are posted or about our credit process? Yeah, Curtis, it looks like you're raising your hand.
Yes, hi, I have a question. In regard to what credits are accepted, are CLEP credits accepted?
So we typically don't accept CLEP credits. And that can be one of the things we talk about after if you'd like, but we typically don't accept CLEP.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
We do accept AB or IB, AP, and dual enrollment credits that maybe were from high school, but yeah.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Just scrolling through, yes, Jacqueline.
So I saw on one of your slides, it was saying how for freshmen, sophomores, you must bring in over 30 credits to be considered a sophomore. I'm a sophomore, but from my last university, I only took 27 credits. So am I considered a freshman then?
So that's a really good question. So, and I'm really actually appreciating that you're asking that. So if you took 27 credits, if I were advising you as a student in my major, I would treat you like a sophomore, right? So like I would put you in classes with other sophomores, because I would think in terms of your degree progression that that's kind of where you should be. But the system will treat you like a first-year student. So the system will assign you an enrollment date, and it will assign you other things as if you're a first-year student until you cross over that threshold of credits.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I mean, it's kind of one of those interesting things where, and before taking on this position and overseeing the transfer stuff, when I was in my school and overseeing advising for students, it was sort of like sometimes you have students who credit count wise are one class, but in your mind they're part of a cohort that's either before or behind it. So somebody maybe who transfers majors and has more classes, you might still think of them as being a little bit behind because you want them catching up with where they need to be if you've got a lot of courses in sequence, versus the other way where you might be in classes with students who are in the next year, even though you're bringing in a few less. And the system doesn't recognize where you're at. So good, really, really good question. Other questions before I move on to some other services? Okay. I'll say also, like, I always forget when I'm sharing my screen to make sure that I'm checking the chat and checking other things. So if I'm missing a question, feel free to kind of jump in, or I know Janae and Jasmine are going to look at the chat too, just to see if that's happening. All right, so the Center for Academic and Career Success is one of the offices that we have on campus to help you in terms of your academic planning and your career planning as you move forward with your degree. So you can access a lot of advising services through CACS, and you can also access a lot of career-related services through CACS. So somebody there will be able to help you with academic and four-year planning for your degree. They can help you with writing and updating and reviewing resumes. They can help you with cover letters. They can help you with finding different career and internship opportunities as you go forward. They are hosting career fairs. They're hosting a virtual career fair at the end of September. So they're kind of being very adaptive to our Corona environment to figure out how to still work with students. They oversee federal work study and the federal work study positions. They can help with career assessments. They have people in the office who are trained in doing the MBTI and the strong interest inventory. So if you have, you're not sure what you want to do and you're looking for some guidance and some help in sorting that out, they're able to do those inventories with you. They can help you with mock interviews. They can help with some tips and skill sets related to salary negotiation. They also help with advising for graduate school and fellowships. So even though they might be doing some other stuff that's more career and job focused, they are also interested in supporting students who are pursuing other opportunities after graduation than just jobs. Academic support resources, we have a number of those available as well. So we have tutoring services. They're based out of our library. This fall semester, they're doing all of their appointments virtually. So this means if you're on campus or you're off campus, you would be able to access our tutoring services. They've got virtual rooms accessible through their website. They do one-on-one tutoring and they do subject lab drop-ins. So for one-on-one tutoring, you would request that either by sending them you could send them an email to get started, or you can log in through Cardinal Success, which is how you'd also make an appointment to meet with your advisor. But instead of selecting to meet with your advisor through that, you'd select tutoring. You can get one-on-one tutoring in all areas with the exception of math, and it's a charge per course per semester. So if you pay for the course, it provides you with tutoring for the whole semester. We also then have subject lab drop-ins, and those do not come with a charge. You can see the schedule for them at success.cua.edu. They will be probably hosted through their room in the library, but they will be virtual for attending. And they do those on Monday to Thursday evening. So it's another way to get some academic support if you need to for some of your classes. We also based in the library have our writing center. They too are doing virtual appointments in this fall semester. They have no charge for their services. You schedule via Cardinal Success. They also have a way of doing walk-ins with Cardinals, which I find fascinating. Like, everybody's use of virtual technology is so incredible to me in making this work. But the Writing Center will support you in all stages of the writing process, from brainstorming to citation style is what I have written there. But they really will help you think through what you're writing a paper about. They'll help you with structure. They'll help you with kind of thinking through, are you getting your points across? Are you making your arguments? But then also citation style. So one of the things that I know can be challenging is when you're taking classes across the curriculum, you could be in a social work or psychology or class along those lines that requires you to, say, do APA style at the same time as you're in an English class that requires you to do a different style. So the Writing Center is there to help you with that if you're negotiating between multiple styles for citation, to make sure that you're doing it in the format that's expected by that area. We have a Math Center as well, which is why there's not on the previous slide, there was the carve out for math classes. So they are doing virtual appointments. The Math Center is a collaboration between our tutoring office and our math department, and they cover all level of math classes and provide support for all levels of math. Our other service that we have available to provide academic support beyond advising and beyond Writing Center and tutoring and Math Center would be academic coaching. So we do have a number of people who work in our Center for Academic and Career Success office who serve as academic coaches, and they're available to help with time management, to help with some study skills, to help with some other things that you might need or want some assistance with to participate in classes this fall. In the spring, we also expanded their services to provide some support to students learning in an online environment. And I would anticipate that we would do that again this fall. So we probably will carve out a little bit of their time to do some other services to support different forms of learning and skills that maybe would be helpful for that. So we have other transfer credit opportunities. So this is just to kind of have you think through as you look at your credit report and you look at what we end up posting for you from the institution you were at previously. So these are just things to think through. You know, did you have AP credit from high school? And if so, are we aware of it? Have we posted it? Did you go to an IB school and do you have IB credit? Are we aware of it? Have we posted it? If you took a dual enrollment class, so you took a class at a college or a university while you were still in high school, do we have that transcript? Do we have the information to post it for you? We do also end up posting transfer credit from study abroad. Off campus, this is another thing to kind of think through that's unique for transfer students. So normally you can take some classes during the summer, and then we end up posting them as transfer credit. So generally we tell students that they can take 2 classes at another institution over the summer and transfer them back. As transfer students, though, the one thing you want to keep in mind is how many credits you've already transferred in. So if you've already transferred over 60 credits, then there's no benefit to you to taking additional summer classes and transferring them, because we've already transferred the maximum number of credits that we can transfer. The exception to some of this for classes off campus is consortium classes. Since we are part of the Washington, D.C. consortium of universities, so there are ways to take classes at other member institutions of the consortium where you register in effect through us, but take the class someplace else. So those ones don't count as transfer courses. But with all of those, if you're taking something over the summer someplace else, you go through us to get approval first, just to make sure that it's going to transfer over. So I'm going to stop sharing now because that makes my screen so much better, and open it up for questions. So Jacqueline, do you go by Jacqueline or Jackie?
You can just call me Jackie.
Okay, perfect.
So I saw, because I took 2 dual enrollment classes in high school during my senior year, and I was reaching out to someone about it. I was emailing someone about the transfer credit with that. She said that my course counted as a class, but it never got posted. So should I reach out again and ask about it?
Kind of the more general questions, what I'll do is I'll put you in the waiting room and we'll pull up your stuff and we'll try to figure it out.
Okay, thank you.
So my thought is we'll try to problem solve as many questions as we can when we kind of finish the more general part of this, so that we get everybody as set as possible. So you will definitely go in the waiting room when we get done and we'll pull up your information and try to figure out where we're at with that. So yes, Timothy.
Hi, so this I think is a general question that could just be answered, but I've been in correspondence with people about like my transfer credits, and I was asked for certain syllabi, but I'm waiting on my previous institution to get those syllabi to me. Is there any like deadline I have to stick to like get those in, or is it just, because I'm kind of at the mercy of my previous institution to get those to me, but should I like tell them to get them to me sooner, or does it like matter?
So that's a really good question. And I'm going to say it depends, which I know is probably everybody's least favorite answer at this point in time in their lives. But we don't have a deadline. So if it takes a while to get the syllabi, if it takes a while to get them in, we'll post your transfer credits whenever we're able to do that. So there's no deadline. If it takes the whole semester to get the syllabus, then when you get it, we'll get it evaluated and we'll figure out posting. If we've posted your credits already, what we might end up having to do is then unpost them to then add more, but that's certainly something we can do. No deadline, except I would say you probably, by the time you're ready to do a junior audit within your school or department, you probably want them posted, because otherwise they'll be telling you to take classes you're going to be saying, I don't think I need to take. Where I would say, and this is, we don't have a deadline for this, so it's not necessarily our deadline, but if there's a class that you're expecting us to give you credit for that's a prerequisite for another class that you need to take, then that might be something you want to push and try to get a little bit faster. So if you can't register for the next class because you don't necessarily have the one that you need as the prereq in the system, then I would say maybe try to push and get those ones a little bit faster, just so that it doesn't affect your registration either this fall or in the spring.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Oh, sure. Yeah, in the spring, I was posting transfer credits for somebody because they realized that there was a class or two they had never sent us and never got posted, and it was making them short for graduation. So there's definitely ways to work through, and definitely some flexibility. So, but yeah, you probably want to make sure you catch it sometime before, so you don't end up taking a class that you don't need to take, or somebody says you're not ready to graduate. Other questions? Okay, so I'll just kind of say again that we're super, super happy that you're here. So I'll just go through, I should have started with this. So my name is Lynn Meyer, and I am Vice Provost and Dean of Undergraduate Studies. The Undergraduate Studies Office oversees a number of different things on campus, including transfer credit, Writing Center, Center for Academic and Career Success, along with Student Affairs, Honors Program, First Year Experience, Center for Teaching Excellence, curriculum, a couple of other things. So we're kind of involved in a lot of different pieces of undergraduate education. So if you've got questions that are beyond transfer credit that you want to ask, you're certainly welcome to do that too. In our office is Jasmine, who's sitting now waving. So she's been helping with transfer credit a lot in the last couple of months as well. So you may or may not have ended up corresponding with her. You probably have ended up corresponding with Janae if you've written to the transfer credit email. Janae has been working on transfer credit as well. So if you've got any questions between the three of us, we're definitely available and happy to help, and want to make sure everybody's as situated as possible for the start of classes, so that everybody's kind of ready to go as much as possible. So if everybody, any final last minute other kind of general questions? Okay, so what I'll do is I will start just individually putting everybody into the waiting room. If you've got individual questions that you want us to answer, then stay and hang out in the waiting room. And we'll start kind of pulling you out one by one and answering your questions. If you don't have any questions and you leave, that is also perfectly fine. I know that everybody probably has a lot of stuff that they're trying to do and get ready and get organized before classes start. So if we can help and answer any questions you have now, it's a great time to get them answered. But if you've got other stuff going on or you move on to something else, that's perfectly okay too. You can just shoot us an email. So the email is, I'm gonna let Janae type it in because I will type it in wrong. So we'll put that in the chat so that everybody can see it before I start putting everybody into the waiting room. And I'm just gonna say, I feel like my Zoom skills have improved dramatically because I can put people in and out of the waiting room. So excited by that. It's the little things. It's definitely the little things these days. Okay, so I will go through and do waiting room for everybody. And again, if you leave, please feel free, don't worry about it. But if you want to stay and ask a question, we'll pull you out as soon as we can. Okay. My list has changed and looks different, so it's going to take me an extra second to
I just wanted to remind you that you're still recording. I didn't know if you wanted to record this part or not.
stop. I think this would probably be a good time to stop. Okay, so now I think it's...
I'm not the host anymore for some reason. I'm so sorry. Is there a way that you could make me the host in there? You just click on the 3 dots on my
yes.
screen. Yeah.
Do you want to be host or co-host?
I think host is going to need to stop recording.
Okay, you're now the host.